it's opening week, but if this thing goes red to green, you know, now what we're going to have is really kind of, I mean, this thing could re-ramp again. So we got to kind of prepare for both different ways of where the market could go. This TVIX, if you start to see it ramp, then we know the fear's back in the market. We've got to lay off the longs unless it's a earnings breakout or something like that. You know, if this thing starts to flood back, then we know that the risk is back on the market and it's game on. So we've got to always kind of be mindful of kind of the different options that's happening. Now, if you're just trading earnings breakouts, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll have different ways to kind of go about this stuff. But we'll keep an eye on this TVIX the whole day, really kind of get a gauge of how the market is feeling so that, you know, we know if it's just our regular technical analysis plays, we're going to have to lay off them. We may have to go short. On the other side, there's a lot of good earnings plays out there today. This excess is gapping up about 10 bucks. The key on this one's it's going to be have to stay over this 50 SMA here. If it can, then, you know, we may have some upside up into the 66 area. It does, even though it's a little bit higher float. Hey, Mo, what's going on? Even though it's a little bit higher float, historically, this one just moves well on news. It's always got good liquidity and it moves pretty well. So I'd keep that on the list. But the caveat is that it's really got to hold above 60. If that thing kind of fades back under 60, it's going to be, it could be a fader, you know, or it might just get stuck for the day. This lazy boy, so man, retail stocks, they were left for dead, right? Everybody said that Amazon was going to take over the world and every retail stock was dead. I mean, these things have been some of the biggest trenders and traders around. You know, retail is always a sign of a good economy, right? When you see all these little retailers, like nobody shops at Lazy Boy anymore. Come on, right? But the fact that their stock is going up must mean that something good is happening. So you got 39 million share float. You can see here on the weekly chart, you're breaking out to pretty much all-time highs, it looks like, or at least the highs of the last decade. That's huge. The float's low enough on this one that we can take a gander on it. I normally don't like retail stocks, but this one has just a low enough float where it could move like an RH. You guys remember Restoration Hardware? You know, that on that one, the float's so low that like when it has earnings and stuff, it has like really big spikes, at least in the beginning, before it kind of settles in. You know, we saw that, right? That last time it had earnings, it had like really a $25 range at the open. I don't think Lazy Boy's going to have a $25 range, but definitely something worth keeping on the list. Keys. Software company, you can already see a nice pre-market trend. We're breaking out of this flag over here to highs. This very well could be all-time highs too. Yep, it IPO'd in 2015, breaking out the highs. That's really powerful. 166 million share floats. It's a little bit mid-float, but overall looks pretty good. I definitely keep this on the watch list for an ORB on Monday, or not Monday, ORB today, or a quick pullback buy due to the float. My guess is at some point it'll start to retrace to that 9 EMA and then start to go back. PSTG, this one's also gapping up. This one could break highs right here. The caveat on this is it's right under highs. I won't take this thing unless it really busts to its all-time highs. Then I'll start hitting the dips and the flags and all that kind of fun stuff. It is a little bit more of a mid-float stock too. Malmo's gapping up on earnings. I'd be surprised if this one holds. You know, this one's already been running for a few days. You know, this one very well could fade the gap, like kind of like Bazoon did, you know, a couple days ago. Now, the caveat on when Bazoon hit, gapped up and then faded back was that all the China stocks were rolling over that particular day. So it provided a lot of, you know, leeway in terms of sell pressure. You know, if the China stocks are not fading, then you may not see Momo fade back. You know, it may actually hang out. You are seeing it drift back a little bit pre-market, so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But I'm not looking along this thing because it's already been up too many days in a row and it's running into resistance. Hey, Veer, how you doing? Mr. Justin, how you doing? So that's going to be something to just be mindful of. This thing is breaking out to 49. You got Urban Outfitters, 73 million share float, another retail stock that's gapping up. That's some pretty good stuff over here. We'll see if this one's got some continuation. I'll be watching this one for ORB, quick pullback buy also. And this NUA, this one's going to have a lot of range. It could go up or down, depending on how it breaks. The one caveat on this one's going to be it's going to move really fast unless you're just like really able to be nimble and kind of trade this thing back and forth depending on which way it breaks. Is it over support? Is it stay over support? Does it break under these all-time lows? That's going to give us an inkling of which way to take this trade. The volume was okay, 3.3 million shares yesterday. Its float's really tiny on this, but we'll be watching this one really closely. The caveat's going to be if you're not nimble, I would stay away from this one because it's going to move. You can see the pre-market range here. It can move like $2 in one candle. It can move $3, $4 in 10 minutes. So, if you have a smaller account or you're just not that experienced, this is the type of trade that can get you in trouble. But if you're able to corral that kind of power, you're going to have a really nice range on this thing to be able to trade. Then on the other side, we still have pretty much the same watch list. I keep Twilly on the watch list if the market bounces. This TVIX is going to give us, this TVIX will give us the inkling of which way the market's going to move. Hey, Irvin, how you doing? SFIX, this is my favorite out of all the setups in terms of longs that are non-PR oriented. Right now, this thing has a flat top breakout. If it can break and hold over this 35, I think this thing's going to be in play and should have a nice trend as long as the market can hold up. The one thing is this one was moving up even with the market nasty at the close yesterday. Hey, Brett, how you doing, buddy? Sherman, how you doing? Nolster, how you doing? This thing was actually bucking the market. So the market was tanking, and this thing was just making it. It had a mind of its own. It was minding its own business and cruising higher, right? And that's huge when we think about, trading is relative strength. If a stock still has an awesome pattern and it's got relative strength, meaning that while the market itself is trending down, I mean, you could see the monster trend down intraday, and this one is trending higher. That's giving you some insight on the mind of this stock. Like, how is it actually going to move, right? And so that can give us a really nice kind of setup here. And so I like this one. This one is my favorite. Something that I'll be keeping an eye on. This Roku, we took this thing for a nice trade yesterday in the chat room. You could see like you've broken out of your trend line. You had the 9 EMA kind of curling up under it. It looks like, 66.66 is the high. It tapped right into 60 yesterday. That's where we thought the target was going to be. I do think this one, we want to watch this on our watch list. If this thing ORBs or breaks out over 60, I think this one's going to have some juice. And then, this last one I'm watching is this dust. This thing is gapping down again. But I think at some point, now we've had kind of three down days and another gap down. This one could be ready for a bounce soon. Hey, Robin, how you doing? That's going to be really important too. So I keep an eye on this one. The trend on this thing is high. Now, the one issue with this is obviously it doubled. So it may need a little bit more than kind of a 4 or 5 day pullback. But we'll start to see, you're kind of at 37 right now. So that's right at the 9 EMA. We'll start to see, we need to start to see like how it starts to react to that 9 EMA on the daily. If it starts to hold and then it starts to build a pattern above the 9 EMA, so it starts to hold here, then you start to see that pattern forming and that really that support holding, and it's reacting to it, right? It's reacting to it and it's holding it. Then we can look at this for a potential bounce, and then really, the confirmation would be if it goes red to green, then, we know that that 9 EMA held and it's going to be a good spot. I think that's really it. One other one to add is this Crocs. We had a flat top breakout, 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests yesterday. This one may have some upside. The caveat on this one is going to be, it's already been up 3 days, right? So it may rest today and then go tomorrow. When you get, something that's run up 3 days into a breakout, they can be a little bit tired. And so we've got to always be mindful. Remember that the breakout spot is like the start of a race. It's the start of the race. But if you're already running full speed into the start of the race, you may be tired and, right, you're not going to be able to finish the race. And that's why we always like kind of like a little bit of a rest phase before the breakout, so that when the race starts, you've got yourself, right, some action, right? You've got yourself some energy to keep going. So that's going to be something to really be mindful of. So that's really the main list for today. Guys, trade good, trade fast. You know the drill. There's going to be a lot of stuff that is moving around today. When you see, like, if you look at the gapper list, right, there's really a lot of stocks. So, you know, narrow down your focus a little bit. Even though, you know, lately it's been a little bit dry for gappers, today there's quite a bit. So we're going to have to make sure that we kind of narrow down our list. You know, always narrow down your list by what's your favorites, what type of price stocks that you trade well, and start to really focus in and tier your watch list. All right, my friends, I've got to go. It's time to get trading and do my thing. Let me know if you guys have any questions or need anything. Let's go do this, boys.